Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Homebrew, the Buffonery. Okay, so today we've got a couple of new things, because today I'm going to be doing a German wheat beer, or a Weisenbock, which is 10C in the BJCP guidelines. This is quite a strong beer. It can be pale, it can be dark, but I'm just going to go for sort of a middle of the roadish kind of thing. The general stats for it are I'm going to use, the style calls for about 50% or more of wheat malt. So I've got some wheat malt, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in comparison to the normal Pilsner malt that I'm going to use in a little bit. So I've got 50% wheat malt, or 750 grams. I've got 750 grams of Pilsner malt, and then I've got 50 grams each of Crystal 60 and Crystal 150. And in the past I've been using Crystal 250-ish, but I've been told that if you use lighter crystal malts and layer them, you get a more complex flavour, or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, that's what I'm going for. Now, because I only want this beer to sort of bring forward the malt flavours, I'm only going to use a bittering hop. I'm not going to use a flavouring hop. But I've just got myself some East Kent Goldings, so I'm going to give those a try. I know it's not a proper old worldy hop, really. You know, it's not like a Sarza hop or anything like that. And I mean, I've got some Sars, but I've just got this East Kent Goldings, so I'm going to use that instead. I'm going to use 10 grams at 60 minutes in the boil. Now, when I got my last batch of goodies from Malt Miller, I bought some yeasts as well. And I've got a right old mix here. I've got a full bag of USO5 and at least 2, maybe 3 in there, 3 full sachets of it in there. But in here I've got all sorts of different fermented ones. SO4, which is a standard sort of lager ale yeast. WB06, which I think is like a Weinhaus Stefappen, whatever it's called, strain of yeast. And I've even got one here, K97, which is a German ale yeast for fine Belgian type wheat beers. Well, I'm not going to use any of that, because what I have here in this little packet of goodiness is some Kveik yeast. I think it's Kveik, Kveik, Norwegian stuff it is. And the bloke I got it off him off some Facebook homebrew page, and it was £3. And he sent it through the post, really sharpish, and he says there's enough in there for at least 25 litres, because I only do 5 litre batches. I'm only going to need a tiny bit of it. And the thing is, you pitch it at 39 degrees C, which is 100 degrees Fahrenheit-ish, 102-ish, something like that. And it should be done within 4 days. And then you bottle it, and it should be done within a week. So this video is going to whole process job. So hopefully by this time next week, because it's Sunday the 10th of February, so this time by the 17th of February, maybe the 18th, and we'll give it an extra day, I should have some ready to drink beer. It's a big experiment. It could go horrifically wrong, but we're going to do it anyway. So, talked about the malts, talked about the yeast, I've talked about the hops. Let's go and have a look at the difference between the wheat malt, which is something I've not used before, and the standard Pilsner malt. So here's the two malts. This is the Pilsner malt, and this is the wheat malt. You can see that already. This is a little bit darker. Here is my Crystal 60 and 150, which look very similar even when they're mixed together, but anyway. So the wheat malt, let's try and find, I think is generally a little bit smaller. The wheat actual germ is a little bit smaller than the Pilsnery stuff. You know, the actual seeds are bigger. But otherwise, other than a bit of darkness, I can't see much of a difference. Is there much of a smell? That smells a lot sweeter than that one. And I don't know how good an efficiency I'll get off this. I've got my Brewer's Friends stuff, which I'll talk about in a second. But other than minor cosmetic differences, I think there's not much to be said between them really. Okay, so my figures from Brewer's Friend are I'm going for, because I usually do it in 9 litres of water, remember, so I've upped the amount of grain that I'm putting into the water because I need to get a higher OG out of this beer for it to be in style. So my original gravity with 1600 grams to 9 litres is going to be 1065-ish. With a final gravity 1016, giving me alcohol of 6.4, which is at the low end of the scale for Weisenbock, apparently between 6 and 9%, I think it was. Strangely, there's no IBUs. I'm not sure why. I've got 10 grams of East Kent Goldings, 10 grams East Kent Goldings, 5% alpha acids, and it's still not coming up with any IBUs. I don't know why, but 10 grams of ish should give me maybe 25 or 30, something like that. So it's not going to overpower the flavour of the malt. ABV 6.4, SRM's 12.45, so it's going to be sort of a golden kind of colour. And my pre-boil gravity is quite high, it's 1045, that's higher. The pre-boil is higher than the final OG gravity of my best bitter, which is gurgling away under stairs in that there brewery. So that's everything. So let's get on to mashing. Here's my crystal malt. Here's my wheat malt, 750 grams. My Pilsner malt. Okay, so we'll bang on 66 degrees there, and let's leave it for an hour, and we'll take some refractometer readings every so often, and I'll get back to you with some pre-boil gravity stats. Okay, so we're 40 minutes in. I'm just going to take a quick refractometer reading now. Just a couple of drops on the end of my doodah there. Hold it up to the light, and I'm at 10:39. So I'm not far off. After only 40 minutes, I'm at 10:39. So that's not too bad. Like I said, I've got another 20 minutes to go. Hopefully we'll get up those extra 6 points, and we'll see you then. Okay, so we're bang on 60 minutes now, so I'm going to do another test on the old refractometer. 10:42. So in 20 minutes it's only gone up 3. So I think I'm going to call it there. I'm not going to go any longer. So 10:42 starting gravity. Hoping to get up to 10:64. A bit iffy that, but let's get the grains taken out and get the boil on the way. Okay, so we're just waiting for the boil to go in, and I'm here bottling my Twinkles Axeman. Look how nice and clear that is. That's not too bad at all, is it? That is my alt beer. Or is it my Dunkel? One of the two. I don't know, but that's been gelatin fine. I'm just about to label it and stick it under stairs to condition for a couple of weeks. So here is the BJCP guidelines 10C for a Weisenbock, and it says overall impression: a strong, malty, fruity, wheat-based ale combining the best malt and yeast flavours of a Weiss beer with a malty, rich flavour, strength and body of a Dunkelsbock or Doppelbock. Well, I don't know what either of those taste like, but hopefully I will do soon, because that's a Dunkel, isn't it? Aroma. Now the thing here is, I suspect it's going to say aroma, low to high, colour, light to dark, some hops for bittering only, some very hop forward, some very malt forward, and mouthfeel will be medium, something like that. So let's see how we get on. Medium high to high malty rich character with bready grainy wheat component. Okay, which is what I'm hoping for, because I'm using just using a lot of malt and only hops to bitter. Paler versions have bready, toasty, malty richness, and darker versions will have a deeper, richer malt presence. So mine's somewhere in the middle. The malt component is similar to a Hellesbock for pale versions, or a Dunkelsbock for dark versions. The yeast contributes a typical Weizen character of banana and spice. So we'll see what the Kveik yeast does with that. I suspect it won't do that, but I do have a yeast that will, from ones that I showed you before, and I'm going to use some of those in future videos. So we'll go medium to low, banana and spice, plums, prunes, grapes, raisins in the dark fruit ones. Okay, and if we go on to the next page, appearance, pale and dark versions exist, so any colour you want basically. Light gold to light amber, but it's colour. It says here, a very thick, moussey, long-lasting white to off-white head is characteristic of pale versions, and darker head for light tan head for the darker versions, which is, as you'd expect from a darker beer, will have a darker head to it, just because of light and physics. High protein content of wheat impairs clarity, which is good. So I'm still going to fine it, but I don't expect it to be very clear. Flavour is similar to aroma, medium-high malty-rich flavour, bready grain wheat flavour. So hopefully with the wheat in it, it should taste bready. And I've tried a beer at a local place near me, and it's just called their blonde, and it tastes like Jacob's crackers. It's really, really strange. And I'm hoping I could get something like that. That'd be really good. Mouthfeel, medium full to full body. A fluffy or creamy texture is typical, as is the mild warming sensation of substantial alcohol content. So 50% of the grain bill is wheat, up to 70%, and then the rest of it is Munich or Vienna, 50% of each, or you can use Pilsner malt. Some colour malts may be used sparingly, which is what I'm doing here. A decoction mash can give appropriate body without cloying sweetness, which I'm not doing. I just do simple infusion mashes, brew in a bag. Weizen ale yeast, I'm using Kveik, which rules out the temperature of the fermentation because it doesn't matter. It says here too warm or too cold will cause phenols and esters to be out of balance and may create off flavours. Well, this Kveik stuff works at 39 degrees, so God knows what will happen. Hop choice is essentially irrelevant because it's a malty beer, and the German variety is the most traditional, but like I say, I'm just using these Kent Goldings for a bit of bitterness. Vital stats, IBUs 15 to 30, well mine's actually 26. SRM 16 to 25, mine's 12. OG, we don't know what that is yet. FG 10, 15, 10, 22, 6.5 to 9% ABV, which is anaesthetic stuff, that really, isn't it? And it's tags, here's interesting. High strength, amber colour, top fermented, Central European, traditional style wheat beer, malty. So, there you go. That is the Weisenbock 10C from the BJCP guidelines. Okay, so we're at 60 minutes in the boil now. Here's my sock, my clean sock. I will say it is definitely a clean sock of 10 grams of East Kent Goldings hops, which give me 26-ish IBUs. And I will say, I'll just drop it in now. I'll just drop her in there. Ooh, give her a good dunking. Let it go. I will say that there is a really, really strong and really rather pleasant smell of popcorn, and it's really, really, really nice. Right, so that's cooled down. We're at 40 degrees now, and with the boil, I did hit my numbers, 1064 bang on. I've a little bit more than 5 litres as well, so that's good. I've just whirlpooled her, still spinning, and so I'm going to leave it for half an hour or so. Hopefully it won't lose too much temperature, but with this stuff, I'm not sure it matters. So I'm going to give it half an hour, and then I'm going to siphon it off. And I've got some muslin to do a bit of extra filtering as well. I'm going to put about that much into the demijohn and leave her and see how she gets on. Okay, so we're 24 hours in, and this is the activity from the Kveik yeast. Zero bubblage, and not much movement going on there really. Is it going to bubble? Is it going to bubble? It's moving a little bit. I've been told by the provider of the yeast that once it gets onto the sugars, it'll start going, and it could be anything 24 to 36 hours. It's definitely moving quicker than it was yesterday, but it's not raging away. I've not kept it warm, I've just left it at ambient temperature to let it cool down from 39, but we'll have another update and let's see how we get on. Okay, it's nearly midnight at that there brewery, and we are about 17 hours after pitching, and there are definite signs of activity there. A little bit of crozing forming, and the old bubbles are starting to come out a bit faster, so I'm expecting big things in the morning. Okay, 6:30 the following morning, so that is now 36 hours after pitching, which is normal time really, but look at the head on that bad boy, and she's starting to bubble away a little bit there, but full on gurglage now. I don't suspect that she's going to finish off in 3 days, but we'll leave her and see what happens. But at least she's working, that's good. Okay, so we are now 48 hours in, and you can see already that the kreuzen is starting to subside, bubbling away pretty well there, but the kreuzen is starting to subside there. So it's been up to here and it's starting to drop back. So maybe it will take 3 or 4 days. We'll have another look in a couple of days and see how it gets on. But that's a lovely, nice, creamy kreuzen there, and it's gurgling away happily. So we'll leave it as it is. See you in a couple of days. Okay, so today is Friday. It is now about 10:15 in the evening on Friday, so it's been 5 days and blah blah blah. And in the last video I said the kreuzen was subsiding and we'd look back in a couple of days. Well, you can see that the kreuzen didn't subside, and it got right to the top overnight on that day. I think it was Tuesday, and it made a bit of a mess really, but I never saw it. But it's still bubbling away there, so it's not done as vigorous a fermentation as I expected. I've got another one on the go here. This is me golden, which has been posted, the brew day has been posted, episode 29, and that's just starting. That's been going 3 days now, so it's about 48 to 60 hours for the Kveik to get going, and you know, it's just a normal yeast. We'll see what it tastes like in the tasting video in a few weeks, and then you know, we'll keep you posted on how it goes, especially with the reharvesting and drying it off, because there's going to be a special video for that. Okay, so that's it from a late night that there brewery. That's the Twinkles Sicknote, because I brewed it the day after. I was absolutely sick as a dog. Didn't even get out of bed for 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and that was it. But that's it for now. I'm not going to do any more with the Kveik. Well, we'll see you in a tasting video in a few weeks, and that'll be it for this brew day. So as usual, you can like and you can subscribe and leave a comment if you want. And you know, if you're a viril, why don't you go out and brew some medicine?